Hey guys, today I'm going to have a look at Vampire Survivors. It's a game on Steam and it's in early access right now. I've been playing it for a while and it's really good, so I thought I'm gonna give it a review. And I think I'm going to come back maybe in half a year or so and see what the updates are and do a long-term review. So what is Vampire Survivors? Mow thousands of night creatures and survive until dawn. That's what it says in the description. So let's get in a game and see how it works. I've played a bit already, so I'm gonna go to power-ups and see if I can buy something. You can see I've bought a max health upgrade already. So after every run in the game you can come here and spend the coins that you've collected. When you start out the game it can be pretty difficult, so over time you can upgrade your stats here and then you have an easier time. In the beginning you have one character to choose from, but you can unlock the others. So I'm playing the Castlevania character here. And you can see that many graphic assets in the game look like they're right out of Castlevania. The first thing that I've noticed is that you can't actually hit your enemies. So what that means is you can only control the direction that you're going in, left, right, up and down, and the computer is doing everything else for you. So whatever weapon you have equipped, the character is using them automatically. Now on my first play, I have to be honest, I thought, hey, that's pretty boring and it's not really a challenging game at all. But as time goes by, you'll see that there will be so many enemies coming at you and it'll get really challenging. The goal in the game is basically to last 30 minutes and then you've reached the end of the level. Every time you reach a new level, you get to level up one item. In this case I chose the whip. That's one of the most important ones in my opinion. So after the upgrade, it will whip in both directions. So you level up by collecting those blue gems and they will come in different colors later on. And once that XP bar fills up on top, then you level up. Leveling up and choosing the right weapons is one of the most critical things in the game, because if you choose to level up the wrong things, you're not gonna get very far. So here I picked up a coin that I was talking about, and once I finish this run I can come back to the power-up menu and use my coins. But now let's have a look at late-stage gameplay and different levels. Here I'm about 10 minutes into the game and I'm fighting a praying mantis. Every so often you will encounter strong enemies like this one, and once you defeat them they will drop a treasure chest. They'll give you a lot of money and extra items. Now let's have a look at the second level, Inlaid Library. A self-detonating ghost is coming right at me and a bunch of enemies, so yeah, you want to make sure to level up the right items in the beginning. I'm going to go for a fire wand here to give me extra projectiles. Now one thing to note is that in a game you don't have defined borders. That means your level is scrolling indefinitely. You can keep walking left, right, up or down. You will not find a border. In the library though, you have the bookshelves on top and bottom, so you can't pass through those. You're going left and right and don't really have much space to navigate. So in this stage it becomes pretty important how you walk. There's definitely a strategy to walking. You don't just walk straight left or right. You want to walk in patterns depending on the enemies that you face. But I'm not going to say any more, because figuring that stuff out on your own is half the fun. So in terms of game mechanics, it's basically as simple as it gets. But it doesn't mean that it's easy. Even though once you figured out a strategy and you think you're good, you're gonna be surprised by 1,000 enemies and they're gonna mess you up. The AI of the game is pretty simple, and by simple I mean the enemies will just come right at you. So don't expect to find some boss fights where you have to hit a specific spot in the eye of the tiger or something. No, it's really quite straightforward. They're coming right for you and you just kill them dead. And to be perfectly honest, I don't need any more than that. Back in the day, games would be even simpler than that, so I think this is pretty awesome. The best thing about the gameplay is that it's really straightforward, it works well, it's simplistic and it's very addictive. After playing a few sessions, you can definitely master the gameplay. And then it's just about choosing the right upgrades and choosing a character that you like to play. Each character has their own weapon to begin with, but you can pretty much add on all the weapons through upgrades. Now let's talk about the graphics. And I think that's a bit of a tough one, because it's not an old game. Even though it's in retro style, it's a new game for PC. So of course one could argue the graphics could be much better, but then again, this is intentionally a retro style game. That being said, I would say the graphics look decent enough. They look something like a first generation Mega Drive game, at least in terms of the style and the graphics. But what is a little bit lacking are the animations. For example, the walk cycle of both the character and the enemies are pretty simplistic. I'm not sure how many individual frames there are, but I'm guessing maybe only 4. And some of the enemy animations are simply done by stretching and squeezing the graphics. For example, like you can see with those fire-spitting heads. And they look like they came right out of Castlevania. But in the heat of the fight you won't really notice. Each level has its own distinct look and style and different enemies. So there's enough variety. What's impressive though is you'll see 100 enemies plus on the screen and it's never gonna slow down. Now let's get to the music and sound effects. First of all, the music and sound effects overall do not really line up with a 16-bit inspired game. As to say, the music sounds much better than what you would get on a Mega Drive or Super Nintendo. Also the sound effects. If you ever had the luxury to own a PC Engine CD or Neo Geo maybe back in the day, then you know what you can expect. Each level has its own soundtrack and it's quite a nice fit. The sound effects are a little bit of a mixed bag, because some of them just sound like 8-bit or 16-bit sound effects, and some of them sound like from a much newer system, something much better. So I would have loved to see a bit more of consistency there. Overall they're fine and they're blending in quite nicely. The replayability of the game is really high. You can collect a lot of things, get your achievements, upgrade your character and weapons, unlock new characters and new levels, so you'll be back for more. And the game is really addictive. So let's get to the final score. The graphics are solid and decent enough, although nothing to write home about, they do the job and have a nice retro flair. The music is really awesome, but then again I would have expected the sound effects to be of the same level. The best of all is the gameplay, of course. Plays very well and it's super addictive. You'll definitely come back for more and keep playing over and over again. And the best of all is the price. It's just under $3, so it's literally cheap as chips. So that leads us to a final score of 8.5, which is just enough for our golden toast with jam on top. If you liked this review, please subscribe and like to support the channel, and keep coming back for more. Thank you and see you next time.